In this video, we're going to take a look at SLR's Magic Cine 2, the 50mm f1.1 prime lens. Now, I was very curious about these lenses because I had never, used or seen them before in the flesh, and this was an interesting and surprising lens. It's an f1.1, so probably it's like a T1.2, T1.3. It has a metal construction, and of course it has focus gears and iris gears built into the body, as they do call this, their Cine 2 lens. So the question is, what is this lens like? And I say that because you could buy this at B&H now for $199. Manual focus f1.1 lens. Let's take a look. Looking at bokeh on this lens at wide open at f1.1, we do see that the lights in the background, they don't go perfectly round, and of course on the edge of frame they do ovalize a little bit, and the light also tends to fall off a little bit. Now stopping down to an f4, it rounds out very nicely and evenly, even though we do see some hard edges, the beginnings of some stop lighting, but the shape is pretty even from center to edge of frame. And when we stop down to an f8, again the shape does look pretty round, and again very even from center to edge of frame. And to look at our flares, starting with the ghosting flare, the light straight down the barrel, we do see some, round orbs, and we do get this large round outline looking down the barrel, and a fair amount of veiling flare too with this test. And at an f4, the large round flares tend to have gone away, and again we do get the kind of some odd shapes coming in and out as we move around the light. And at an f8, the flares are pretty decently controlled. Not a lot of ghosting flares. Less than I would have expected from this lens. Now with this veiling flare test, again a large light source just off frame, we do of course have some veiling flare wide open at an f1.1. And when we stop down to an f4, we can see it is it's well controlled at an f4 by the time we get to an f4. And at f8, it continues to be very well controlled for such an affordable, inexpensive lens. And to take a quick look at breathing, what I'm looking at is the roofline and of course the window on the lower left. And again, a change of magnification. Is it zooming in and out as we go from near to far focus? And it does move quite a bit, as you can see. On this chart, again, we could see how much the image moves going from close to near focus. And again, it's quite a bit of breathing going on here. Now staying with this chart, we do see a little bit of barrel distortion with this lens. A quick look at CA, or chromatic aberration. As I zoom through, you can definitely see the color fringing at the edge of the high to low contrast areas. And stopping down to an f2.8, zooming through. Again, we still have some CA, but it is much improved over a wide open. And at f4, it's still there. We're still seeing a little bit of CA, even at an f4. With this simple test, we can see, the amount of vignetting this lens has wide open at an f1.1. Now, we'll also compare the relative sharpness from the center, just punching in post, going to the edge of frame, still staying in the center of the frame, of course, going all the way to the left to see what type of focus fall off we have here, and then going down to the bottom right, we're going to take a look at. Again, it does fall off kind of as expected, and let's take a look at the top left, and yes, it does still fall off. So, kind of expected that this lens does fall off. The focus does fall off a little bit from the center of the frame to the corners. And now we go to an f2.8 to see what we see. Again, here's the center. Let's go to the right, and it does clean up a little bit. And going back all the way to the left at the center of the frame. And now let's go to the bottom right. And you can see it has improved to a small degree, definitely, as we close down the lens. And top left. So that's our lens at an f2.8. And now we'll take a look at things at an f4. An f4 with this 50mm. Going to center. All the way to the right. It's kind of similar to a 2.8. Definitely improved over an f1.1. But we still get a little bit of fall off at an f4. And at the corners, maybe slightly worse than at the sides. And at the top left corner, again, we do get some fall off still. So that's our lens, comparing the center sharpness to the corners on this simple test. So to wrap things up, SLR Magic's Cine 2 50mm f1.1 proved to be an interesting lens. And I say that because this lens does have quite a few of the qualities you would have in a vintage lens, meaning that it has a little bit of barrel distortion. It has quite a bit of vignetting wide open, definitely a good amount of chromatic aberration also, and the focus field is not very flat, meaning when you come to the corners and to the edge of frame, it does fall off, but as many older lenses do. So what I was really curious about is if this, basically $200 lens that you could buy new and buy pretty much a whole set or nearly a whole set new right now, would this be an interesting alternative to a regular modern lens? And I think the answer is yes. Now, my only hesitation about this lens is that I did detect a little bit of image shift. I would want to test that further, and also I'm curious how this lens is going to hold up over time, because again, I hate to say or hate to think you get what you pay for, but quite often we do get what we pay for, and for $200, I guess the question is, for $200, is this going to be more reliable than finding an old vintage lens, adding gears, focus gears, iris gears, declicking it? Is it going to be a little more reliable than an old vintage lens? And you know what? Only time would tell. But I would have to say, I am curious now about this series and about the other lenses in this series. Well, that's going to wrap it up for now. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.